I'm Tim Malloy with Moviemaker, and I just got back from the Sundance Film Festival where we hosted a fantastic panel on the best places to live and work as a movie maker. Just some background, every year we release our list of the best places to live and work as a movie maker, taking into account factors like locations, studio space, tax incentives, crews, and sheer livability. In this panel, we went in depth on all of them. The panel included Taylor Hardy, Film Commissioner of Fort Worth, Texas, one of the top big cities on our list. Her office handles massive Taylor Sheridan productions like LANDMAN and LIONESS, as well as many other projects. We also welcomed Jennifer LaBar-Tapia, the Film Commissioner in Santa Fe, New Mexico, the top smaller city or town on our list for the last 4 years running. And Meg Jarrett, Director of the Massachusetts Film Office. Boston is another of our top big cities, and I'm fortunate enough to live right outside of it. We're also thrilled to have Owen Egan, co-CEO of Cinespace, which has world-class film studio facilities in 6 cities, including 2 of the top big cities on our list, Chicago and Toronto. And we're thrilled to welcome filmmaker Garrett Patton, who is the founder of TBK Productions and the producer, co-director, and star of the awesome new thriller Self-Custody. He gave us an indie filmmaker's perspective. Garrett, if I could start with you. You live in Newport Beach, California. You shot your latest film in Austin, Texas. Can you talk about how that came to be, whether it was the incentives, the locations, and what you look for generally in a location? Because a lot of people here are willing to relocate to other states if it'll help.
Yeah, well, you like to think that when you're in pre-production that everything is going to be based off of the physical location and the crews. But, unfortunately in today's day and age, how difficult distribution can be, particularly for indie filmmakers, the tax incentive, it really is one of the top things that we look at. Obviously, California has a lot to offer. We have all the different, for instance, I shot a film called The Iron Door, and we were able to film multiple different mountain ranges and desert scenes, and you have all the different landscapes. But in the indie film world, I think the tax incentive is one of the most important things, and also the ease of the tax incentive. So I've shot in a couple major cities before where the process to get the tax incentive back was very difficult. And most indie filmmakers, we're counting on that money for the post-production. So if it takes 2 years to get your tax incentive back, it doesn't help that much. So I would say those 2 things, but at the end of the day, you want to be able to have the best locations and the best crews.
Taylor, Texas just increased its tax incentive really dramatically, and it's very, very well funded to the tune of $1.5 billion over the next few years. Can you talk about the incentives in Texas and how that's paying off for you?
Yeah, it's been really exciting. We had more support from our lieutenant governor and our mayor, city council than we've ever had. So our new incentive is up to 31% cash rebate on your local Texas spend. There are uplifts, so it's a 25% base rate, but several ways where you can get to that 31. Faith-based projects, hiring veterans, working with a local college or university. So we're really excited to see that.
Yeah. And can we go over New Mexico again? Really astonishing, your neighbor?
Yes. So, yes, our neighbor, but we're friendly neighbors.
Yeah.
For the moment. I don't know. But no, so for the state of New Mexico, it's a base 25% on all qualified spends. And a lot of it is hiring local crew, local vendors. There are some exceptions that really gets into the weeds that could still be incentivized for some above the line, and some out of state department heads and things can still be incentivized. And then we also have uplifts as well. So there's 5% uplifts that can be stacked, and it can get you up to 40% on those stacks. And then I also failed to mention in the last panel, but also with film permitting, especially with our local film offices, it's all done at the local level. It's $10 a day to film in Santa Fe. Wow. So I'm trying to get rid of that with our new ordinance. I want to do no permit fees because we know that the economic impact of a film being in our region, however big or small, it's going to help our local businesses. It's going to put our local crew to work. It's going to, all the things that I don't need to preach to the choir, but it's just one of those things that we see that value of a production. And so if we can get rid of film permit fees altogether, we want to get rid of those, but it is $10 a day for now, and we can get permits turned around usually within 24 to 72 hours, just depending on the scope of the permit.
And how about beautiful Massachusetts?
Yes, beautiful Massachusetts has 25% above and below, no residency required. and we have a 50,000 minimum spend, and we have no caps. So you could film 100 movies there a year if you wanted to. But you know, I've been around for quite a while. I was around in the initial start of the incentives when 7 8 states. I worked on The Departed, which was a shared credit at that time. So we did half in New York and half in Massachusetts, and they both got the credit. So it's amazing how we've just stayed pretty steady at what we are, and our tax credit works so well with independent films because they really do see the money on the screen. And we've had so much luck, but we'll talk about that later. Right.
Yeah, something we talk about all the time in the magazine is that the real key to your success is finding a group of people who you're going to collaborate with again and again. And all of your communities have that. It's one of the reasons they all did so well on the list is because filmmakers are always having each other's backs and pitching in. You're the DP on this production. You're the director of another production. You're the gaffer on something else. And it's very cool to see everybody pull together like that. Owen, you're from a group that you're part of a coalition that recently took over CineSpace. Why did you want to take over this legendary company?
Yeah, well, we have the privilege of being in 6 amazing cities. You know, we're in Toronto, Atlanta, Wilmington, North Carolina, Chicago, big city for us, and we're in Berlin in Germany, and I'm delighted to say we're soon to be in Los Angeles. So we're about to open up in LA, and you know, we make a decision based on, you know, the longevity basically of these film communities. They have you know, gone through all sorts of cycles over many decades, and it's great to see multi generations of film crew working on our lots. But I think the biggest thing is, you know, the film communities is that from policy. If you have your government that is willing to support, it's all about incentives. So we're not in any states that doesn't have incentives. We're in states that has a very rich crew base. We also, you know, we're located in a kind of 30 to 45-minute radius out of the cities, these big urban communities. And we're nothing without the community we're operating in. So yeah, it was a family business that was started in the 80s in Toronto, and they grew to Chicago. And we've had the privilege of growing the CineSpace brand now into these other communities.
I'm glad you mentioned Los Angeles, and I'm really interested that you're investing in Los Angeles because a lot of people are trying to close the door on LA. I'm from LA. I'm sure we all love LA. It's in our Hall of Fame. It's always on our list. New York is also in our Best Places Hall of Fame. But I want to ask maybe a provocative question of everybody. Do you think Los Angeles will still be the film capital in 5 years? Or are things spreading out all over the world?
Well, I'll jump in because, you know, we just made that commitment. I think that the creative definitely still seems the decision makers when it comes to greenlighting production and financing production seems to still really come out of LA. I don't see that changing, although, you know, there are cities like London and New York where Netflix and Universal and other big majors Disney have set up hubs in those cities, but and also in New Mexico. But I do think, you know, yes, right now it's bottom line, so it's probably less production than on years gone by, but still there's quality production, and they still need quality infrastructure.
Well, I want to jump in on that question because I think it's really interesting. I think financially it's more of a challenge than ever to be in LA, and there's different hubs that are kind of emerging around the world. What we've seen in Fort Worth is companies like 101 Studios, which produces most of Taylor Sheridan's shows. David Glasser is moving his entire headquarters from Los Angeles to Fort Worth. We've seen several of those executives already buy houses. David Glasser's right down the street from Taylor Sheridan in Weatherford, which is just 20 minutes outside of downtown Fort Worth. So I think we are starting to see more of that movement.
Yeah. Massachusetts, Boston and LA have always had a wonderful relationship.
We have. We raise them, we school them, and then they leave. But I say now we are from Emerson and Harvard and BU and even the state colleges. A lot of the and I do speak to a lot of the college students in our area. They're a big draw for us. We want them to stay in Massachusetts, and even if they do go to New York or Los Angeles, or New Mexico or to Texas, they do come back, which is really amazing. So we had a crew member over COVID work with another person who was like one of my interns once who doesn't even work in the industry anymore. And they did this project. It was called 100 Years of Filmmaking in Massachusetts. And they took one clip from every film made in Massachusetts from 1922. So Captain Courageous, The Departed, they put all Adam Sandler's movies in one clip.
Okay.
Who has probably spent the most money in Massachusetts filming? And it was a 4.5 hour project. And then they updated it to 2025. But that really opened my eyes to see how committed. I was so interested in how they got equipment there in the 50s and they shot a lot of winter scenes. So looking back at that and studying that, we have I work with crew members that I worked with 30 years ago. There's still my location people here. We've all grown up together in this industry, and now the next generation is working props, locations. And that's amazing to see too. So that's what I love. That's what I feel like building up. And whether they do go and live in Los Angeles and raise their children elsewhere, I feel like they do come back.
I definitely want to follow up on the cruise, but I want to hear everyone else's response first.
So, not to one up you, but I'm going to one up you. So our films,
you have Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, the Wahlbergs, Amy Poehler. Okay, come on.
That's not what I was going to one up you about. Our first film was in 1899. And it was 1899, 1898. Sorry, 1898. And it was the Thomas Edison Company. And they came out and they were in New Mexico. And it was a 30-second flicker pick. But that was our very first one. So we got you. And then Tom Minks, he did a lot of his Westerns back in Las Vegas, New Mexico, the original Las Vegas and New Mexico, and all that, like in the 20s and the 30s. But to the point about the incentives, New Mexico was one of the first states to have a comprehensive incentive program. Ours went live in 2002, 2003. And the thing is, it's been proven. So we've been consistent. We have really done a good job educating our governor, whoever our governor is at the time, our legislators, to make sure that our incentives stay strong. We feel like we've been kind of rolling with the changes, and we've been making changes to incentives as the industry's been needing certain kinds of changes. So we'll take those back. But having that support from our state government is huge. And then with the training programs, one of the really great parts of the incentives is there's an FCAP program. There's programs that the state will pay 50% of that salary to actually train up in those departments. And so we're all about training up. If someone comes in as a PA and they can get trained up in something, the state will actually pay for 50% of that salary to train up. And that's the thing. That's our goal too, is to keep our filmmakers and keep the crew and keep everybody in New Mexico. I mean, New Mexico as a state, we're only about 2 million people. So, I think Orange County, California, where I'm from, Newport Beach, Seal Beach. And so, although I've been in Santa Fe since 93, but, there's more people in Orange County than the whole state of New Mexico. And so one of the things about New Mexico and that we recognize is that this industry is a great fit for our state. We have oil and gas, however you feel about oil and gas, but we do have oil and gas. We have technology. We have those things. But the industry is a really, really good fit for our state. And so it's really important to make sure that our crew gets trained up and they stay here. And it's a good for the next generation. It's good for any age. It's good for our veterans. Anyone getting out of the military, we get them trained up as well. Anybody that's retired from accounting jobs, we get them into payroll. We get them, so it's for every age. And we're doing a really good job, I think, training all of those ages and whatever it is they're interested in.
Yeah. I really want to hear about Massachusetts and Texas's programs for introducing the next generation of crews as well. I did want to ask Garrett, as the closest to being an Angelino on this panel, what is the mood in Los Angeles now? I mean, is it optimistic? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at the decision, because I've shot several things in Los Angeles, economics obviously is number one, but Los Angeles still has multiple things that are in its favor. To be able to have some of your top cast, most of them, be able to sleep in their own bed at night is a big win. And then the diverse landscape, as we spoke about before. I mean, you can virtually get any type of landscape you want and any kind of scene you want. But at the end of the day, economics outweigh a lot of those decisions. And I think California now with the lottery system with the incentives, I think that's a step in the right direction, but there's still a long way to go.
So now I would love to hear about the programs in Texas and Massachusetts for training crew, because everyone on this panel, one of the reasons you're on this panel is because you have really excellent programs.
Yeah. So our crew are now, I would say, 5 to 7 deep, as they, especially with independent films that come in, and they may have veteran crew members on that crew list, but they also bring in new crew members. Programs that the Massachusetts Production Coalition run. They have PA programs. They have edit boot camps. They have, accounting. They have camera things, camera 2-day seminar. So everybody who works there comes back and teaches and helps them. We had Boston Blue, which is actually, unfortunately, economically shooting in Toronto. But when they did their portion in Boston, there's a location a line producer and some crew members that are here that helped with the PA workshop and then hired 20 of those PAs to work. So that's what we want to see. We want to see, that's really like saying where it is. And so we may not have enough to have more training, but they're training. It's it's an apprenticeship, right? And so we're still learning, and we want them to learn from those masters, and we have the masters. And so we want that to continue. And then as we have more steady work, then we will start introducing other programs. But we really rely on our stakeholders and they're learning at these colleges and then coming right out and going to work. So we think that's a good way to build our crew even more.
A really cool blue collar attitude in the whole state. I mean, like, all my in-laws are in the trades, and it's not hard to see somebody transitioning from like an electrician to a gaffer or different other roles. So yeah,
we see that, especially we have I remember there, because we do get partials because they shoot elsewhere because we don't have the stage space that we're going to talk about after this. But we don't care if we have the partials. That's work for everybody, right? Yep. Locations is on long, they're on beginning and the end, accounting is, but there's a crew of accountants that only work on those partials. So they love it and they know the incentives. So they do a great job. So, all that all builds so that we can have, a couple of series going on, a couple of features going on, and then those partials works out great.
And tell us about Fort Worth.
Yeah, well, we are really working to grow our crew. We are busier than we've ever been in Fort Worth, and especially with Taylor Sheridan, his crews tend to be larger than your normal production. He may be hiring over 1,000 people when you think about day players and everyone involved. So we partnered with 101 Studios on a new program this year with Tarrant County College and really looked at those areas where we saw gaps in our crew base. So things like set construction, hair and makeup, grip and gaffer, and we created a fast track certification program to take people who maybe already had these existing skills and teach them how to apply that to work on set. So it's been very successful. We launched just over 2 years ago and have already had 200 students register, and several of the graduates have gone on to work for Taylor Sheridan. One of them now has a full-time position and worked on LANDMAN and LIONESS, and so really excited to see that happening. But I think across the board, all of our universities have really stepped up. We have a new virtual production institute from Texas A&M that's building in downtown Fort Worth, so training more of that augmented reality and just everything virtual, with a great stage there that they plan to rent out to productions. TCU has been very involved. LANDMAN did a ton of filming on campus, and they had this great partnership where students were able to shadow the crew members, I think in wardrobe and camera, and really making sure that those students are prepared, and we're training that next generation.
How about CineSpace?
We actually have our own crew training program called Cinecares, which is probably now nearly 10 years in operation. And it's with NBC Universal. We started in Chicago on the One Chicago Dick Wolf shows, which is still getting new grads. And the thing about this training program is we work in our communities that wouldn't traditionally be very familiar with working on film and television, low-income communities across Chicago, in the North Lawndale area, and then also in Toronto, we rolled it out a few years ago, we focused on accountants because there's never enough accountants. People, we need more accountants. That is a rare thing right now, we've grown programs in Atlanta. We kind of look at where in the crew needs the most help, and then we focus the program around that. And also, I would say we have two universities. One, DePaul University's on our lot in Chicago, and then York University's on our lot in Toronto. And then we also work with all the universities in the other communities as well to source some of these grads.
Now I'm going to ask people to be really, really loud. By applause or screams or whatever you want to do, who is thinking about moving to a different location than you're in now? Okay, great. Who is thinking? Thanks for coming.
We did a great job selling it.
Who is thinking of shooting in a different location than where you live now? All right. You have to ask the right questions. So, speed round. What are things that people should think about when relocating that they never do? We could skip that one.
I think, definitely people going, it's good to have shot a film there and spent a bit of time. I have come across people that have moved to cities without ever going there. Actually did it myself. I moved to Toronto without ever visiting Toronto, and it worked out well, but it was a bit cold. I would definitely, have experience of working on a production if possible in the community you're about to go to.
Yeah, I mean, obviously from a filmmaker's perspective, getting to know the crew. If you're going to a place that you don't know, finding a great line producer and getting the crew involved, I mean, that's probably number one. But then number two would be the logistics. Obviously you're going to be bringing some cast. You're going to be bringing a lot of people in from other areas as well, and you lodging and all the things that go along with that. It's all part of the process, and it's equally important.
I think that even if people go and leave Massachusetts and go to California, it's funny, they will come back for a summer movie and they write what they know. So they do come back. And this happened with CODA. The writer director, she grew up in Cambridge, Mass. Then she summered in Gloucester, and she rewrote this French teleplay to be CODA as an homage and a love letter to Cape Ann, where she spent her summers and had her memories, and that turned into an Oscar. So, and then we want her to come back, with her as she progresses in her career. She will, and that's why we welcome so many independent films, because if they come and our unions work with them and help them to use their money to get on the screen, they are going to come back with a bigger project. And that's what we've really relied on for a long time, and it works.
And a big hit to come out of Sundance. I'm so glad somebody brought up CODA.
And last year, Sorry Baby.
Absolutely.
Last year, Sorry Baby was the first movie. I've only been there in this role for almost just going into my third year. It was the first month I went to work. There was a little tiny film being filmed on the North Shore, and then it sold here at Sundance last year and bought by A24, who's a frequent visitor to Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So, this all works in a cycle, and it's okay to go elsewhere and come back, bring your skills, or and come back.
You also have, because you didn't mention it, the Safdie brothers came out of Boston University, and the Daniels came out of Emerson. So on kind of a tear. Yeah.
So I think that one thing that Santa Fe prides itself on is I'd mentioned a very strong above the line community, and we do a really great job of connecting everybody in the above the line community in Santa Fe. We have quarterly events. We usually get about 150 plus people at those events. They're all Santa Fe filmmakers, so they can find one another. So they want to hire a local line producer. They've been looking for whoever it is they're looking for, but just to know that talent is there and they can make the film together. So that's something that I think is surprising to the film community, that's something, a service that our office provides, is that we make sure that everybody can find one another. So we do have the resources, we have the stages, we have the sets, we have the locations, we have the quality of life, but then also we are also a connector. And so we really want to make sure that everyone knows where everybody is at, and that we can put all of our Santa Feans to work together on these projects that they would have never maybe met before.
Amen.
I think Forward is interesting. A little bit different answer. We've got a lot of production going on, and it's a great place for filmmakers, but I think it's just a fun city to be in. We're the 11th largest city in the US, which people don't realize. So a big city, but we have this small town feel. It's easy to get around. People are really welcoming. It's this great community. Something we hear a lot, like from Billy Bob Thornton, is that he's not getting harassed by paparazzi, and people are just nice when they go up to him and they want to have a conversation. And it's just a very different environment. I think with the lower cost of living, people are able to go out and have this great dining and nightlife and go two-stepping or to a rodeo. And I think it's just a lot of fun. And I think it's important to think about that total experience, not just your time on set if you're going to relocate.
That is one of my favorite things about Texas. Everybody from like 18 to 70 goes out on a Saturday night and dances, and it is the coolest thing. The best music, the best food. I want everybody to do it. It's really cool. The last thing I want to ask everybody, what is a location in your backyard or in your studio space that you wish everybody knew about? Just an incredibly cool place that you think is really underutilized.
We have a few backlots. We won in Toronto that we just did actually, the Westies, which is a series set in Hell's Kitchen. And I think people, it is harder. It's getting more expensive to shoot on location. So being able to build, on close to the stage is proving to be well. We don't have a backlot in Los Angeles, but we've ample parking and stuff like that. It's also, I think it's like having support space, and having the right ratio of support and facilities nearby the set is really important. So that's what we focus on.
Well, in California, obviously, there's, as we mentioned before, there's a lot of diverse landscape. But I would say the one thing that I've been using a lot is the online community to find locations. And, sites like Gigster. You'd be shocked at it. You spend hours on Gigster looking for places, and it gives you ideas of other options. And so we've been using tools like that quite a bit around LA and we did it in Texas and all over the place, Chicago. Yeah.
I'm going to admit that I do the same thing. I go through social media, and when I see shots like the Aurora Borealis has been in Massachusetts for how many months now? This whole year. And so I take pictures of everybody I saved the screenshot of everybody who's posted these unbelievable pictures. And I said, who needs to go to Iceland? It's happening here. And so there are too many. We go from seashore to historic places. We were celebrating the Massachusetts 250th, the birth of the nation. And we had the Battle of Bunker Hill in my hometown of Gloucester, Massachusetts. I was waiting for Mel Gibson to come out of. We had the reenactors. We had schooners in the harbor. We had the British landing, and I'm like, where is the director? Like, where's the AD? Popping a Diet Coke. So there's so many great places that I just can't say one, but there's so much to share, and we want to continue sharing.
Yeah.
So I'd say one of the things, besides all of our sets and natural beauty that's just all around northern New Mexico, people don't realize that Santa Fe does have the Alpines, that we are at the end of the Rocky Mountain chain. And so we have a ski resort in Santa Fe, and we are very much a ski town. And so, that you can have those Alpine looks, and people just don't realize that. They think we are like a Phoenix or something, and we're not. And also one of the treats for filmmakers is because we have 5 pueblos in Santa Fe County. Not everyone can get onto a pueblo. It's very sacred land, but we have great relationships with our pueblos, and so we can work on making those connections. And so if there's something that you need to get out there and you want to be on these pueblo lands and these sacred lands, we can help make those connections. And it's something that we haven't even seen all of it. You know, it's just because you can't be on those lands unless you have permission to be on those lands. And it's truly spectacular for the parts that I have seen, that I've been allowed to see, and that productions like with Dark Winds that films out on native lands in Santa Fe. It's really a treat, and it's very special to be able to be out there. But they're very film friendly in Santa Fe for the Pueblos.
Well, I have to talk about our studio spaces. Taylor Sheridan just opened SGS Studios in North Fort Worth. LANDMAN was the first production. Their season 2 started filming there in March while they were still wrapping up construction on the building. And it's actually the largest production campus in Texas at 450,000 square feet. They're able to host 4 productions at the same time. So I think LANDMAN, LIONESS, Dutton Ranch, and the Madison are all there right now. Sets for LANDMAN as they're gearing up for season 3. So it's been really exciting to see that. We also have the largest virtual production stage in the state of Texas nearby at Trilogy Studios. So it's kind of this new hub that's emerging, and I think a lot of people aren't aware of that yet. People always think of Austin as really the hub in Texas, and they're a great city for filmmakers, but Fort Worth is really growing quickly.
I know a lot of you are going to be interested in these film commissions and in meeting Garrett and in meeting Owen. So I'm going to end this now and give you an opportunity to come up and talk to them. Also on Instagram at Moviemaker Mag, I'm going to have everybody as collaborators on photos that we take and things like that. So you can reach out to people on IG if that's okay. They also all have very good websites. So there's a variety of ways that you can reach out and ask all of the very particular questions you have about incentives and everything else. And I just want to thank our amazing panelists. Any city that is on our list of the best places is a city that we really swear by and recommend to filmmakers and to our friends. And we really believe in the work that you all are doing and are so happy to just get to share a stage with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you so very much.
So much. All right. Thank you.